An ancient prophecy suggested that the ocean would finally relent and allow a sailor to discover new worlds.
A single piece of wood, that's it. Not a skeleton, not a sword, just wood. And somehow, that piece of wood just rewrote 500 years of American history. For 1,000 years, the story of European contact with America began and ended with Christopher Columbus. Every school child learned the date, 1492. But hidden in the ice-locked fjords of Greenland, buried beneath centuries of snow and silence, lay evidence of a different story entirely. Not a story of discovery, but of persistence. Not a single voyage, but hundreds of crossings. Not chance, but necessity. Here's the thing. The headline says 350 years, 3.5 centuries of Norse boots on American soil. That's not a visit, that's a civilization. But wait, how do you get 350 years from something that fits in your palm? Is this proof of Vikings living in America, or proof of something far more complex? A transatlantic supply chain that lasted longer than the United States has existed. Let's rip this apart, because the truth, it's bigger than the myth. Before we talk about America, we need to understand why Vikings crossed 400 miles of killer ocean in the first place. The year is 985 AD. Eric the Red, exiled from Iceland for manslaughter, leads 25 ships westward selling a dream. Fresh land, independence, a second chance. He calls it Greenland. The name was marketing. Only 14 ships survived. But the survivors built farms, raised cattle, recreated Norse civilization in the Arctic. Everything except the one resource that would determine survival: trees. Greenland had dwarf birch and stunted willow, shrubs useless for construction. Yet Norse survival depended absolutely on wood. A single longship required 20 to 30 cubic meters of timber. The keel alone demanded an oak trunk over 10 meters long. Without ships, no connection to Norway. No trade, no iron, no escape. Every house needed timber framing. Every barn required beams. They were recreating medieval Europe in a landscape that lacked its fundamental building block. So where did the wood come from? In 2021, scientists at Leiden University dated wood from L'Anse aux Meadows, the only confirmed Viking site in North America, to a single year. Not around 1000, the year 1021, plus or minus 1 year. How? In 992 AD, a massive solar storm hit Earth. Cosmic rays created a spike in carbon-14 that trees absorbed. That spike shows up in tree rings worldwide, once or twice per millennium. By finding the 993 ring and counting outward, researchers determined exactly when a tree was cut. 3 pieces from L'Anse aux Meadows, bearing metal blade marks, showed 28 rings past the spike. Vikings were felling trees in Newfoundland in 1021. The precision is astounding. The tightest date we've ever had for European presence in the Americas. But then someone asks, where did the wood go after 1021? In 2023, archaeologist Elizabeth Goodman's team examined 8,552 wood fragments from 5 Norse sites in Greenland. Among those thousands, they identified 26 pieces that should not exist: hemlock, jack pine, 2 species with geographic signatures as precise as fingerprints. Neither grew in Europe. Neither could drift across the ocean. Both grew along one coastline, the Gulf of St. Lawrence, eastern North America. The Norse sagas called it Markland, the land of forests. But here's what makes this extraordinary. These fragments span the entire arc of Norse occupation, from around 1000 to the 1300s. They weren't making one desperate voyage. They were running a transatlantic timber supply route for 3 centuries. Microscopic analysis found cut marks from metal tools. The grain indicated fresh timber, chosen for quality. And critically, no ocean current connects eastern North America to Greenland. Human hands cut it, human ships loaded it, human will drove it across 400 miles of dangerous ocean. Every single piece came from one location, Gardar, the seat of Greenland's bishop, the most powerful estate in the colony. In 1126, Greenland's first bishop constructed a cathedral to St. Nicholas. a 27-meter cross-shaped church with stained glass and a bell tower. The first cathedral built in the Americas, 366 years before Columbus. This wasn't some struggling outpost. This was power. And power meant access to resources others couldn't obtain. North American timber was a luxury good, reserved for elites who could finance expeditions across the Davis Strait. The wood fragments don't cluster around one period. 3 pieces date to around 1000 AD. 7 come from the 1200s, 1300s. Routine, repeated, systematic trips for 300 years. In 1347, Icelandic annals record a ship arriving in Iceland after being blown off course. The crew, 17 men, explained they'd sailed from Greenland to Markland to gather timber, but storms drove them north. This wasn't news because Vikings reached America. It was news because a ship got lost. By 1347, 347 years after Leif Erikson's voyage, sailing to America for wood was routine enough that only the navigational accident was noteworthy. Now we separate 2 questions. Question 1. Did Vikings maintain contact with North America for 350 years? Answer: yes, the wood proves it. Question 2. Did Vikings live continuously in America for 350 years? Answer: no. The archaeology proves they didn't. At L'Anse aux Meadows, the record is clear. 800 artifacts, capacity 4, 30 to 90 people, occupation 3 to 10 years. Not 3 centuries. No cemetery, no trash mounds, no rebuilding layers. L'Anse aux Meadows wasn't a failed settlement. It was never meant to be permanent. It was a base camp, a lumber camp. The 350 years number conflates 2 things: Greenland's lifespan, 465 years, and America's role as a resource zone, 327 plus years of timber runs. The sagas explain. They called indigenous people Skraelings. Encounters were brutal. Around 1004 AD, Thorfinn Karlsefni brought 60 men, 14 women, livestock to colonize Vinland. His wife Gudrid gave birth to Snorri, the first European child born in the Americas. For a brief moment, success seemed possible. Then it collapsed. After a native warrior was killed, hundreds attacked. Leif's brother Thorvald took an arrow and died. Within 3 years, evacuation. No permanent settlements after. But timber runs continued for centuries. The Norse didn't need to live in America. Just cut wood and leave before winter. Let's address the claim that DNA from wood proves Vikings stayed 350 years. The truth: no lab has extracted Norse genetic material from wooden artifacts in North America. Not from the 2021 study. Not ever. The 2021 breakthrough used dendrochronology, tree ring dating, not genetics. So, DNA proves 350 years. False. But modern Icelanders carry 1 to 2% Native American DNA. Haplogroup C1e. Arrived around 1000 AD. Someone crossed the Atlantic in the other direction. That's proof of sustained contact, but not settlement. Around 1350, the Little Ice Age began. Sea ice thickened. Greenland's economy imploded. Walrus ivory faced competition from African elephant ivory after the Black Death killed half of Norway's population. In 1378, Gardar's last bishop died. No replacement came. The last. A written record describes a wedding in 1408. By 1450, the Norse Greenlanders were gone. Timber runs ended not because Vikings gave up, but because no one remained to make the voyage. The Vikings didn't discover America and leave. They integrated it into their economic world and maintained that connection for over 300 years. Columbus didn't open the Atlantic. Vikings crossed it routinely for longer than most European nations have existed. The 350 years claim is both true and false. True, Vikings maintained contact from 1000 to 1347 AD. False, they didn't live continuously in America. The real story? Resource economics, climate adaptation, long-distance logistics, cultural conflict, ultimate collapse. The evidence was always there, in the wood, in the sagas, in Gardar Cathedral's ruins, where bishops once prayed beneath timber brought from across an ocean. We just weren't looking closely enough. If you want to dive deeper, drop wood in the comments, because this debate, it's just getting started. Thanks for watching. See you in the next discovery.